Any other points? Any ideas? Any suggestions? Any such?
We have a new friend.
We do. We have Miriam. Normally, as you guys know, it is a consistent factor of mine that there are at least two members of the coterie who have had a connection with a new player, but due to everyone being busy and everything that was worked out via OOC present, we're going to forward ahead some and forego that very real and considerable playroom. That being the case, as we prepare to dive in, I want to say thank you all because, as you all know, as we stand here on our version of Chicago for these characters, this is a foundational aspect for me for all of my play everywhere else. It is the ideas as created here and explored here reverberate through history, at least my history of play in the current community and all of that good stuff. So I want to thank you very much for being a very important part of getting me back into tabletop, and even if it is just via Discord, and very much thank you for all of the lovely times that we have shared. It has been definitive, which the mileage on that may vary, but I assure you that it is a very inestimable value to me. With no further questions, suggestions, hypotheses, I would like to say that this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 12, Episode 2, Tolling Like Funeral Bells. When we last left our coterie, they had once again done the impossible, even with the addition of their newest member, Sophia, of the very misunderstood and entrenched Hakata. They pulled off the impossible for most, and a growing habit of being just an average Tuesday for them. Standing face to face with the government, standing with their head on the chopping block, standing with no pot to piss in or window to throw it out of, and escaping by the skin of their teeth. Their celebration, of course, was considerably far shorter than most would expect, as upon alighting from the decisions as to their continued fate, they immediately fled the vicinity, heading first home to the shelter, and then secondly to pick up Arsenio, who, even as a ghoul, with the shot that rocketed through him, with the round designed to cause graphic and tragic physical trauma, there is and has been a severe need of rest, recuperation, and extraordinarily amounts of mending and healing. Unlike kindred, ghouls heal humanly. There are scars that reverberate through them. And even with the speed granted them by the Vitae, there are just some things you don't walk off. That was a week ago. That was a week of fraught efforts, carefully applied Vitae, and lots of concern shared amongst the coterie members, Hestia and Lucio, because there's a glaring factor that was raised that has yet to actually be openly addressed. Arsenio is very much a cousin to the Castigliones. Arsenio is very much a cousin to the Tories, who are cousins to the Castigliones. In fact, far closer than cousins in most people's understanding of the two. Which, by dint of birth, by dint of blood calling to blood, means that in Lucio's manipulated venting of his beast, in Lucio's initial capturing of Arsenio, he enslaved a family member. If that shocker was not quite enough for an immediate pause, there is the very real fact that Lucio and the coterie have put together a very subtle and unthought of happenstance. If what they suspect is true, it means that Vivi is not, in fact, Lucio's first embrace. It means, in fact, that not only has Lucio enslaved, at least initially, his cousin, it means that Lucio has witnessed the death of his half brother, and Lucio granted his half brother immortality. If that was not quite enough, in that week's time, Sophia has been contacted by the Paters, the leaders of the Hikata sect, because each family has their own goal and each family has their own prejudices and enmities, and its own nation unto itself in most regards. That nation is guided by the hand of the fathers of the family, the heads of the family, which doesn't mean that the heads are entirely all male. It just means that that title is what they use for the leaders of the various families to broker peace, to make arrangements. And one of the things that the Paters had arranged decades ago, centuries ago, were the God machines. They are focal points to manipulate and guide the ebb and flow of the various vicissitudes of the spiritual, as well as the ramifications of those, because there are spirits who engender certain feelings in the populace, and through those you can determine the fate of cities, because it is not that far off, 2558, when the contract expires between the Hakata and the Camarilla, at which point open warfare may be had, or worse yet, especially for the limited numbers and members of the Hakata as a whole, there could be clandestine warfare held against them. And with the Camarilla's reach, it is statistically improbable, nigh impossible, that they would reach the other side, either hale, hearty, and as independent as they would like to be, let alone this side of the shroud, this side of death. There would be mass casualties. There would be mass loss of power. There would be a change on a near global scale for them. And to stave that off and to better their position and their chances of surviving such a prodigious situation, they have been warring quietly with themselves to attain as many of these God machines, these focal points across the world, so that when that contract expires, they are able to fare better than their numbers dictate. Their contact from the Pater comes with the edict. You have a mission. Stay within the interference, non-combat, outright combat with one another, and all is well. It's a green light by way of a stop sign. There's no other way to look upon that. And if matters were not worse for the coterie, Hestia, a week plotting, planning, seeking, and coming up short. As a respected regent level Tremere, there are certain caveats, even with being held as, in contempt of court, even being viewed as a criminal, at least temporarily. None of those things factor into how her status is held and viewed. What is in the last month of her ascension, there has not been one member brought into her chantry. There has not been one member that she has fostered into greatness. There has not been one asset that she has brought to bear. Meaning, much like a fallow field, the investment of efforts and energy and support, there comes a point of diminishing returns. And without engendering, without breeding true, without creating another Tremere, without bringing another member into the fold, Hestia's stock is lying fallow. the cost of which and the value of which to the Chantry as a whole is dropping by the moment. Without their support, there is literally no way that Hestia will have access to the knowledge that she needs to ensure the shelter never falls. And all those lives and souls that depend upon the shelter will fall with it. And then we have Miriam Ashton, who has been a student of the great painted lady herself, who has been, unbeknownst to the city at large, operating as their agent provocateur between sessions with various paying clientele and those who pay in other manners, in other ways. There is the very real fact that the painted lady, as a member of the Bahari, has been excised from the city. For fear of what will fall on them, the painted lady has all but bequeathed their clientele to Miriam. And until and unless there is a amicable close to this war of the tower against the Bahari, Miriam will have a target on her back socially, without any real protection, without any real alliances, without any cover, exposed for what she is, an unaligned independent who does not have the patronage of a member of the tower. And there's something about moving targets that make them far more survivable than those who are pinned and pegged to one particular location. No blinds to cover their actions, no sword or shield to aid in their defense. And so we begin this evening at the shelter, in the office, having been gathered because of everyone's individual axes and steps forward, with Alexa having been called to order to deliver a message, to deliver a presentation to the conservator of the shelter and the shelter as a whole. Alexa will arrive or be arriving within the next 20 minutes. So as you all sit in the office, what is it that we are discussing?
So, is there any word on this Vivi?
None so far. I've been trying, but I haven't had much luck.
I think perhaps we need to understand the relationship she had with her master, and decide how we can best use that to our advantage to lure her out, perhaps.
Unfortunately, our best source of information has been sent on a train out west, all to catch Redwood.
I do not know that that is the best source of information. It might be the easiest way to contact her directly, but you all were close, yes?
Yes, we were close with Dizzy, but Vivi was, how do I put it? He was or she was a bit more distant than Dizzy was.
Dizzy also had secrets and had a hard time sharing sometimes. We would ask her, did she need help? Or is there anything we could do? And they were very much of an independent mind and they had it handled. And there's a fine line between pushing and stepping on toes. So a lot of the times we would have to back off and trust that they had it. When maybe we should have insisted and even if it was making a nuisance of ourselves, insisted, I guess, so that we knew what was going on. Um, Maybe then a lot of the things that happened afterwards wouldn't have been such a surprise. As far as on my end, no, I haven't really heard much of anything. It's like she's all but gone ghost, and again, I know we need to focus completely on this, but I am, unfortunately, it seems, with the holidays being present, dealing with the whole your parents want you to have grandchildren situation at the fucking Chantry house. I'm being reminded that I have not added to the Chantry in any way, shape, or form other than in name. I've rather more taken than I have given because I killed, we were part of killing Sylvia.
We
So,
don't discuss that. That was
well,
not you.
it wasn't me, no, but it still looks bad on me as a member of the Chantry. And then the whole Sun Che thing. Sun Che has been missing since Chinatown. That's another high-ranking member of the Chantry that I have some very vague ties into making disappear. So it's only going to be a matter of time if I don't figure some shit out. They're going to stop having my fucking back, and we don't want Deuceable to give up on me. We really don't. Seeing as how he is one of the only people that helped save our ass last time. Him and Critias, and I hate to say that because Critias is creepy, but they saved our ass last time.
They did.
So, how many kindred have you been killing?
Do you want a full list?
Accidentally?
The kind of accidentally that requires air quotes, yes?
Sometimes.
I would like to make a disclaimer. Dizzy was the one who pulled the trigger.
So, I've had some thoughts on that. How do you feel about perhaps throwing her father under the bus? Do you worry about her legacy? Does she have some people who are going to come and exact vengeance?
I don't think so. The people that she had ties with were all but killed when she was first taken, and we were supposed to be helping her look for them, and we kind of dropped the ball with that, unfortunately. But shit happens, sadly. So they're not having her back in that, and her family doesn't know what she was, which is what we're trying to avoid, or what she wanted to avoid. So yeah, there's not that either. I think we'll be okay.
Aside from the fact that, we have the one major loose end of Vivi, who is the thing coming back to bite us from her, and me.
It is very strange because her bond should have broken when Miss Dizzy met her end.
That's the strange thing about blood bonds I've learned.
Well, goddamn, you motherfuckers are slow as all get out. Don't you know them two motherfuckers was doing the fishy back tail slap with one another? Can't you see it in their eyes? Just like your cook. Look at that little Hesher right there. Oh my god! I didn't notice that you were actually quite bosomers.
Lucio
And the
turns to the sound of the noise. Is it?
and the quarter in your pocket that was formerly on your nightstand is very cool. Not chillingly so, but it is definitely colder than anything else on your person. Now, Sophia hasn't had the pleasure of meeting Blue, but standing before you is the very definition of a late 70s, early 80s pimp from every blaxploitation movie you have ever seen. His coat is long and flowing, made of materials that have never seen the light of day, from animals that shouldn't have ever existed. His hair well coiffed and shaped as if it is immaculately done every evening once the sun goes down, and his finery, i.e. the combination blend of materials of his pants, hold the crease sharp enough that you might be able to slice bread upon it. And the color of everything he is wearing in various shades of that very regal color, blue, is a discordant monochromatic rainbow effect. While everything is shaded, everything has a hue of blue. They are all slightly different. They are all compounding upon one another so that they conspire against the smooth evenness of his very dead skin to make him seem a blue light in the office.
As what our so crude visitor has stated, I don't think.
Crude. I was not crude at all. I did not
Shush.
say any of the things that
Nobody's
I
talking to you.
could
I'm
have
talking
said.
to her.
Namely, have you seen that prison movie where the women are all in the shower and the water gets really, really cold all of a sudden? I didn't say anything about that movie. I didn't even
Good
say the
Lord.
title. I didn't describe how no one decided to shave for some strange reason. I could never get that. You're supposed to be on film and you don't even try to look your best. Maybe a pic to make the natural look more voluminous, as they say. None of those things ever happened. And God forbid all that underarm hair that would lean down and get wet and make all these weird strings like little dark worms of
Silencio.
vine. No, blue.
Silencio, please.
Well, aren't you just
Bas-
delightful?
Basically, what he's trying to say is that the bond between Vivi. Oh, I have a headache. Anyway, the bond between Vivi and
You
Dizzy
too.
wasn't just blood. It was they cared for each other.
Two
They
lost
maybe
souls finding
loved for each
themselves in the
other.
dark.
I don't know.
I swear, I didn't get a chance to look and see because someone allowed me to be consumed by the vortex in the center of the Shadowlands. But all that aside, no hard feelings. Well, not too many hard feelings. But my dear friend, Lucky, whatever your name is, little boy. I mean, we're not friends anymore. Clearly, that much is obvious. Otherwise, you wouldn't have allowed me to die or almost die again. Be snatched back, screaming from the void by your dear old daddy. You still ain't made that damn meeting, and you know what that means.
When does he want to meet?
Yesterday, the day before that, y'all supposed to meet at the church, and you never made it. That's just, although that little hellfire, that whip crack of violence, that whew, she is everything that you could have been. But you got too many principles. You won't even let me look at. You wouldn't even let me look at Nudie Mags. You didn't even give me a place. You didn't keep your word. You let me die. Did I say that? I did. I said that already. And as he's speaking, Hestia Lucio, you've seen Blue in various states of being, various manifestations he's managed. This is the first time that he's putting out enough wattage where his skin shifts as he speaks. This is the first time that although strong spirit though he was, he seems to be refortified as if there is some other animatory essence granted to him. And it's radiating off him in waves.
Wait, I just had a thought. Looking at
That'd be a
Sophia,
first.
your mother.
Was a fine
Anyway,
lady. She serviced more men up and down Central Avenue than any of her other friends. And not that I consider them friends, but they were kind of like aunties. They helped me become more of who I was and as successful as I had become, causing all of my haters to wish death upon me. And if not for her success and my success, I very well may have ended just like the gutter trash that they were, instead of in a near blaze
Dorothea,
of
do you
glory.
have a way to make a spirit shut the frick up?
I don't
I
believe that is
wish.
within her purview, because she wasn't the one that brought me back from the void. Yo, dear old daddy, the one that asked for you so politely to come meet him. You were just a disrespectful child. It's clear that the rod has been spared far too many times. How about we rectify that? How about I give you a little rod? Think that'll
You
help?
know, it
She's
is
looking
funny
at.
you should ask, because I indeed do. Apparently, Mr. Pookie Bear does not understand how this works on this side of the world.
Oh, well, that's because this is not really the world when you really think about it. It's just a pale imitation. It's a warm and glowing pale imitation. As he speaks, his mouth grows several inches on each side. His teeth grow a little brighter, and his eyes begin to reflect whatever infernal light or energy has been granted to him. And it is very dark energy, as if he is pulling energy from the proximity to the other side, as if being here inside the shelter is granting him additional reserves of strength, adding to what he was initially.
As I was saying, I believe Blue
Yeah,
here
my mother. That was rude.
is our proof that
Th-
our
What?
lovely Dawn has been harassing us directly because he keeps saying that's who sent him.
Yes,
He's
a
our proof.
messenger delivering a message. And that message is, would you please, please, oh, please be something more than yourself? Would you uh, risk the effort of being a nice, upstanding member of some society and honor your word? The man gave you life. The least you could do was give him a meeting. But no, instead, you gallivant around the city, you gallivant around the world, and get caught up in all sorts of crazy little things.
Since when has giving life meant anything to our kind?
Your kind. Well, I doubt that there's many of your kind at all. The bastard child of a man of great power, who was gifted the gift of immortality, who had that gift of immortality planned for his son, his prince, little Prince Lukey, and instead was stolen by another person. And instead of just killed, instead of just ravaged, instead of just sent on your way, you were granted immortality from a similar source, from a similar darkness, from a similar malevolent hate for everything of the light. And you, without realizing it, have, instead of being victim to all of that dirty, dirty darkness, like what's, ooh. And anyway, I will not look upon the savage Italian beauty who has threatened my existence. Nope, nope, not looking on that one. Nope, not looking at all that greedy, stinky darkness all over us. And you have a similar darkness in you, but instead of being prone to it like some other people, you became a carrier, infecting others with it. That's such a pretty damn picture. Think about it. A typhoid Mary whose name is Harry, or would you say Marvin? A typhoid Marvin who just with his touch is passing along all of that insidious darkness to people who have no idea because they think he's so upstanding. He's a knight in shining armor. Oh my goodness, he's such a hero. Little do they know he's a syphilitic, herpes-ridden monstrosity, infected evil. Like other people shake hands, pass a little sweat back and forth. He passes darkness. He passes obtenebration, all the screaming souls of the dead. It's a pretty picture. But the message has been delivered. Your time's running out, boy. You being disrespectful.
Until
Run on back to daddy so that you don't really ever have to experience what the rod might do to you. I think someone like you might enjoy it. Your eyes roll back in your head, your toes curl up, and you crying in pain. All those bloody
And
tears running down your cheeks. That image alone, think about it. You bent over a barrel, just crying, mouth gagged, tears streaming, having a time of your life.
will you shut up and let me speak?
Let. No, you got power. Use it. Speak, damn you.
The next time I'm at the Djibouti, he can come and meet me.
You said booty.
I've given my response.
All right, that's twice now. You agreed to meet. Third time may be a little different. Y'all have a horrible night. I'll see you around. The coin in your pocket grows warmer, back to its room temperature. Sabatian knocks on the office door, having everyone immediately have to roll a resolve and composure, not jump out of their skin and expect it to be, in fact, who and what it should be, considering he rarely leaves you all in peace. Oh, now you guys are just stone cold, stunningly stayed in the moment. As the door knocks and most people be jumping out of their skin, you guys calmly look toward the door to find Sabatian standing there. Miss Green, there's a biker here to see you.
The mouthy stupid ghost and now a biker. Apparently this is going to be a very entertaining evening.
If they start singing YMCA, I'm gonna leave. Anyway.
You want me to send her back? You want me to?
Yes, please. Thank you.
It is without. It is me stumbling over my words, but it is more importantly that there's no such thing as coincidence. Not only does a human mind constantly seek patterns and make patterns where there were none, everything is connected on a near impossibly small and intimate level. Everything that makes who you are individually makes up every other person that has ever lived and every other person who will live. That connective tissue and the understanding that energy never actually can be destroyed, merely change shapes and changing forms makes it so that there is nothing new. There is never anything that has been revolutionary in truth. It is always the realignment of those very same atoms and chemicals that make up everything else around, that make up every facet of every portion. And the thing that is most glaringly obvious, and the thing that had not occurred to Miriam, and the thing that had not occurred to the Painted Lady, one of the many shelters that they volunteer at and offer their services and help with basic necessity, grooming and the like, offering haircuts, and occasionally, for those who are old enough and clearly smart enough, retouching tattoos that they've obtained, prison tattoos, jailhouse tattoos, full-fledged street tattoos that have come at the end of various implements. One of those shelters is the Harazvaros. It was suggested and to them by Urzuli, the queen mother of the local Bahari. It had been and has been a place where, on occasion, over the years, the efforts have been made, and you guys made a lasting impression on several people here and there. Strangely enough, the painting lady herself never actually appeared. She always sent you or one of the other artists. She always was very circumspect in how she handled things pertaining to the shelter. So after several trips and circuits around the city, gaining allies or seeking to do so, you realize why. Because in your last few nights of working the network circuit to get the invite to receive the prince's hospitality, at least temporarily, so you can get your feet under you and better protect yourself, news of the shelter, that group of hounds who has killed more primogen than any living kindred has ever managed. The shelter who fought off lupines. The shelter who many say are anarch plants. The shelter who, at a grand bacchanal hosted by the new harpy of the city, Brett Stryker's party, assaulted a primogen, purportedly hung from helicopters and did other crazy things according to the rumors. But you know how secrets grow in the telling and how gossips expands upon each telling, from a friend of a friend to I was there when it happened to I've got pictures that you gotta find the right phone to I used to make out with them. We traded blood. You know, those gossip points of status that people bandy about as if they actually mean anything. It doesn't take long to figure out where the shelter is. It doesn't take long to figure out why the painted lady herself operated circumspectly when dealing with them. It doesn't take long to know that if anyone in the city might offer their protection and their sponsorship and get you the hospitality that you individually need to keep the painted lady's businesses running with her in the wind, it would be the group of hounds who have killed Primogen and lived to tell the tale. It would be the group of hounds who fought off lupines and lived to tell the tale. It would be the group of hounds that stood before the entirety of this local government and flipped them the bird, telling them what they would do and how this would go. As you recount what Ducky, one of Gingus's best associates, told you. Yeah, my man Genghis was there when it happened. They stood up in front of not just that old bastard Critias, but in front of Prince Jackson and told him, we aren't going nowhere and there's nothing you could do. And you know what those old kindred said? You know what those old licks had the nerve to do? They said, okay. So here you stand at the Harrisville shelter. The youth who greets you at the door is barely out of diapers. Even during your living days, you'd say he looked a very young 15, but it's clear based on the hour of the evening that he's considerably older, at least temporally. The proof of that is hard to justify, but there's no way that anyone would hire a 15-year-old or 13-year-old to man a desk at a shelter at this hour of the evening. He, with his painted on mustache, clearly someone used a mascara brush to make it as dark as it is, and disappears, and he returns. Yeah, there, Miss Green, she'll take you back in the office. Yeah, let me show you how to get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So we get a lot of bikers. There was this group that came through a month or so, 2 months ago. Are you with them?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Well, it takes a few steps and down one hall, up a flight of stairs, and around another corner. The building is clearly far larger than this actual shelter space, which is no slouch. There are clearly easily 200 to 300 beds or rooms and spaces for a veritable community to exist. All those lives touched by these very dead, very hungry kindred stands in almost direct opposition to the things that you've heard. The fear that is echoing through everyone's voice as they speak on them. Yet here you are. There's a saying that is often trotted out that fortune favors the bold. But as you approach the office door and realize that you are far enough from the door that even with a full burst of speed, there's no way to make it out.
Hmm.
The impact of that statement settles in as instead of knocking, Sebastian opens the door. Miss Green, here she is.
She'll step up and look around at each person in turn. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I hear that hmm, that you're the people I should speak with.
And so you are.
So it would seem.
To set the stage, as it were, a little bit of set dressing as you all are exchanging the initial pleasantries of a surprise visit one way or the other. The office is a throwback. It is well kept and cared for, but it is a very old mentality styled designed office. There is against the farthest portion of the room facing the door a desk wide enough to have a family of four easily eat around without ever touching knees, shoulders, or toes underneath. On the opposite side of that desk is a leather chair that has been around for at least 4 decades and well used and cared for with Murphy's as often as possible. You can almost smell the shellac holding the leathers together. The doors exiting the office are not there. There's one way in and one way out. The outside edges of the office are filled with loose, mismatched chairs and a couch here that was clearly found in someone else's discarded pile. And it looks surprisingly homey, but there's something missing. An office such as this clearly had another way out because if you were in charge of a hospital, which this building clearly was, you'd have a way to enter and exit without attracting the attention of the passersby. But there is no other way out. Just one way in, one way out. And behind the desk, the shelving unit with a mirror on the outside of it, reflecting back into the space. To your left, sitting in one of the more comfortable chairs farther from the desk, is a tall Italian woman. Would you be so kind as to describe yourself, Sophia?
She is pale and very elegantly and expensively dressed. She's got super long brown hair that's all pulled up, sort of in a wispy, messy, sort of updo sort of thing. She's kind of examining her nails, but looking at you out of the corner of her eye from time to time.
To your right, in the wingback that is clearly from a different echelon of finances, is a similarly pale gentleman. His height almost indiscernible. He looks like he could be tall. He looks like he could be short. He's filling the chair with his bulk. Would you be so kind as to describe yourself, Lucio?
So Lucio is currently wearing one of his dark winter coats, and his hair is jet black, slicked back. He has, I guess it would be like a 5 o'clock shadow, maybe 6 o'clock, but he looks like a very how do I put it? His face is a bit angular, a bit rough, but he's trying to put on a pleasant expression right now, not trying to scare their unannounced guest.
And on the other side of the desk, nearly swallowed by the chair, is Hestia. Would you be so kind to describe yourself, Hestia?
Hestia is obviously pocket-sized. Uh, Brown hair that normally is obviously curly, but today she's got it worn straight. It reaches about her shoulders, half up, half down. Um, she's wearing a pair of black rimmed, kind of cat eye glasses with obviously fake rhinestones in the corner. A little bit of smoky eye, dark lipstick. Um, is a obviously of Latina descent on the darker side. Um, yeah.
And then lastly but not leastly, Miriam, would you describe yourself? How close to accurate and generalized state was Sebastian to describing Miriam as a biker?
Um, it looks like she would be comfortable on a bike, but not necessarily a biker herself. Uh, she is very lovely to look at with long silvery hair, tattoos down her neck and down her arms, um, on her hands, um, delicately carved nails, just long enough to possibly cause some damage, but not long enough to get in the way. Uh, she stands on the tall side of average for a female, slender, um, with a pair of nice denim jeans and a comfortable midriff top.
And into this moment, in this space, there's a clear feeling that you've walked into the middle of a conversation. While there wasn't any voices raised or any words cut off as the door swung open, it is clear there was something afoot. And having made your statement of, I believe you may be who I'm looking for, or the kindred that I'm looking for, the kindred that may help me, here they sit.
Pardon, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, it's kind of par for the course for the evening, so I'm not stressing about it. You said something about you were told that we could possibly help you. What kind of help do you need? I mean, you don't look homeless, obviously. That's what we do here.
Uh, I've volunteered at shelters. I've helped touch up tattoos that are out of date for those seeking to improve their lot. I also have helped provide some medical care here and there. But that's not why I'm here tonight. My patron, if you'd like to call her that, has fled, and I find myself in need of more stable footing.
Stable footing? Oh, you've come to the wrong place.
Everyone has to start somewhere, don't they?
I suppose that is true. So, let's talk specifics. Who was this patron of yours, and how did you hear about us?
I assume this is not your Alexa we are waiting for.
No.
Ah, Miriam.
Pleasure to
So I
meet you,
just have
Miriam.
a weird question, Miriam. You said that your previous patron fled. Is there a particular reason for that? Because there's only a couple reasons I can think of right now that would mean reason for people to flee.
She's been quiet in her dealings. Uh, accusations, more, I suppose.
Well, the thing I'm getting at here is I have had some friends also leave town recently for a good reason, and I'm wondering if your friend and my friend know each other because the reason I'm asking that is the person that we're expecting, they're not very friendly with certain sorts of people. Yeah.
Ah,
Perhaps before
independent.
we get into all of our personal dealings, we should complete our introductions. I feel like that might help break the ice a little bit. Maybe help establish at least some rapport. You said your name was Miriam, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, pleasure to meet you. My name is Lucio.
A pleasure.
Hestia gives Lucio like a very strange, squinty, like, what? Look. But then goes, Hestia Green, own, owner and runner of this farm shenanigan shelter place that you are in right now.
We will smile and nod at you.
Sophia, just consider that I is not here.
Miriam will arch a brow at that.
All right, so now that we all at least know what to call each other,
At that, oddly enough, Hestia kind of like glances around really quick to make sure Blue doesn't pop out again out of nowhere.
Would you be so kind, if you're not using your auspics, to roll your intelligence plus occult to see if there's any signs of manifestations? If you are in fact triggering your sense the unseen, it would be your wits plus auspics.
That's unaltered, so because my pool for that's pretty large.
And that's your intelligence plus occult for seeing signs of spiritual manifestation.
Yes.
Living in the shelter, it has become a unconscious skill in picking up signs of manifestation, as the shelter itself sits at the nexus of several hundred smaller ley lines, several smaller dragon roads, and unlike the usual dribbling pool of necromantic spiritual energies of the ley lines themselves, it is also the hearth and beginning fountainhead for several larger ley lines, several larger pools of life energy, basically. The signs have always been there, small though they are, and grow with the actual full-fledged manifestation of something stepping across the veil, something stepping across the shroud, ripping a hole, or making it thinner from either this side or the next. As Miriam entered, there is clear evidence that the spirits, the souls, and all of those many states in between have grown a little excited. There's little floaties, little small blips and blobs circulating around Sophia and gravitating and radiating between Sophia and Lucio. When Miriam enters, those little blips and blops, those little small little things you see at the corner of your eye, grow a little more frenetic, grow a little more active.
That, of course, causes her to raise her brow and just kind of stare at the little blobbies and like track them for a bit, watching them but not saying anything.
Are you all right?
I think our visitor previously stirred the pot in here a little bit. Things haven't settled. They've gotten worse since our new friend walked in the door. I don't know whether you can tell or not, but it's kind of swirly. It looks almost like a little blizzard in here right now.
I'm trying not to look. I am honoring your domain and not being tempted to do what I do in here. But trust me, it's also very tempting.
Well, I appreciate that. Sometimes it's nice when I'm not the only one that sees things.
Again, Miriam will arch an eyebrow, kind of tilt her head to the side, pondering what they could possibly be discussing.
Where are our manners? Can we get you anything? Come, have a seat.
She will smile brightly at the lot of you and move to take a seat in whatever may be available.
Yeah, this is actually kind of a tight fit for how it normally is in the office. Luckily, there was some things moved around recently uh, to make room for Donnell. Okay, so yeah, back to what you were saying. You came here because somebody sent you to us and said that we might be able to help you get your footing back underneath you. Because you kind of got left in the dust there a little bit. Uh, so what is it that you need
We
us to do?
we independents don't do quite so well on our own, particularly when everyone else ups and leaves.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I remember how that kind of felt. I wasn't never completely independent, but I kind of dabbled with it a little bit at one point.
You have to admit that this is a fitting place for a stray to wash up, no?
So, what is it exactly that you need us to do for you?
I'm mostly just trying to make inroads with the local tower. Make nice, as it were.
And somehow you managed to find the one coterie on probation.
Um, let's just say it's fitting. I'm, my ancestry is not, on the best of terms.
Oh, neither was mine until about a month ago, maybe more. Um, I don't know if that's something you're willing to discuss. I know some people are touchy on the subject, but that I'll leave that up to you.
Fear not, it seems that Chicago is the very land of opportunity where the lowest of the low can make themselves high.
While all that's going on, Hestia has gone uh, blank-sided again. This time, it's very poignant focused, and there is a frown creasing her forehead, eyes going a little squinty.
Lucio looks over to Hestia with a little bit of concern on his face, and then turns back to Miriam. Um, don't mind her. She does that sometimes.
Mm.
Oh, okay, no, something's wrong. Something's incoming. Like there's a hole in the. Oh, it feels like something's coming, and I think it's gonna break through the veil between. And I don't know what we can do about it, but we should probably prepare. She looks at Sophia.
Oh, did you want me to do something?
I, I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying we might want to get prepared because it feels like something major is about to happen, and I don't think this is a good night for this, especially with the freaking scourge about to show up.
So Sophia will shift her senses around through all the different things she can do with them to try to figure out what Hestia is talking about.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead? And do you have Sense the Unseen or do you have Oblivion Sight?
I have sensed the unseen.
Okay, excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus awareness plus aspects? Okay. Well, now, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. A lot of knowledge can change the ebb and flow of your very environment. It can change the energy in a room. It can allow you to bridge borders. It can allow you to build bridges. It can allow you so much creative energy. It can also be a damning thing. The more you know, the worse things tend to look. And in this particular situation, as Sophia's eyes fade of color, graying out till they look as if they are in fact the eyes of the dead to those looking on. It's a similar state that Hestia enters into when piercing the veil with her vision, and when Lucio's eyes turn into a endless black pool of wispy shadow energy. Except for here, there is a mild glow. There is a reflection of the very real frenetic energy across the veil. There are places and times where people have been just before great calamity. And the one thing that they all share, those survivors, it was quiet. The sea was acting differently. The people were moving differently. It was as if everything noticed. The dogs I didn't pay attention to, which were always roving up and down the street, suddenly weren't there. There were no birds flying overhead. The world was quiet. It was almost as if you could hear the insects themselves burrowing further and further into the earth to escape whatever was coming. That same feeling, that same expression of that it being too quiet, of the storm raging miles away from sight, but being in the eye of it, just the quietude, the feel of energy in the air, the electricity having changed. It's as if the quiet itself is attacking every facet of what you can see and hear. And then the bells. The quiet tinkling bells, as if there are brass, copper formed, cold forged bells ringing in the distance, and they're growing louder. The walls between this world and the next are relatively non-existent. It's like walking down a flight of steps and expecting that last step to be there, and it's suddenly gone. The press of spiritual energy you felt in the lobby, and you had felt every step of the way thus far, has grown to the point where it feels as if there is 100-pound weight on your shoulders out of nowhere. And then there are the flickering, fading lights of the dead as souls and those things that had never had the opportunity to live move back and forth across the invisible threshold between this world and the next, running and fleeing from what is in their wake. Something large, something strong, something powerful is heading in this direction, drawn by the energies gathered, drawn as if someone had left a little breadcrumb trail, leading the bear right smack dab into the middle of the campfire.
If I may, perhaps well, there are two things. Perhaps we should be somewhere else, or we need to untie my hands, and I'm not even sure that will be enough. So perhaps somewhere else.
Hearing the back and forth between Hestia and Sophia about basically like alarm bells going off, Lucio looks at Miriam and says, "Okay, let's make this quick. You want to be one of us, yes?
Basically.
Well, tonight looks like it's going to be your trial by fire. Help us with whatever the hell's about to happen, and we'll consider your membership. Deal?
I love a plan.
Sounds good. Okay.
What
And
is the plan?
I believe the plan should be perhaps to leave because whatever the dead are running from is probably not good.
I'm sorry, did you say the dead are running?
Maybe I
and
mean it as metaphor.
Like what she said.
Lucio's at this point he's gonna once again say to Miriam, "Oh, I hope this doesn't disturb you. Don't mind this, but," and then he activates his oblivion sight after blinking, and then his eyes go to that inky black darkness.
Lucio, too late.
I can do that except mine turn red.
Oh,
Jessie is on her way up and out of the chair and towards the door.
here's the thing. And one of the things that most don't actually are not ever immediately aware of. Piercing into the void, looking beyond the veil, opens, much like on your computer, a window into it. And windows operate two ways. if the spirits are caught up in their own wicked tableau, their soap operas that they live time and time again, they really don't care too much. But if they're seeking for a way in, they are peering through that window at the same time as you're peering out. And as Lucio channels that deep connection to the very fabric of the world beyond this one, and his eyes go to that endless pool of darkness, where that endlessness begins wisping out as if it's made of smoke. You, Mr. Lucio, would you be so kind as to roll your wits plus awareness plus oblivion? And you, Miriam, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus composure? Because in that pool of never-ending darkness, there actually are souls reaching out to free themselves. There is actually madness dripping and oozing from all of that never endingness. The holes in his head where his eyes should be, there is a forever within it where you can simply fall and never return to who you are.
I just want to make sure I wrote that right. Was Oblivion meant to be just flat successes, or was that meant to be added to the dice pool?
Oh no, it was intended to be added to. There
Roll
is,
hands.
as crazy as it sounds, therefore, and even now in certain portions of the Grand Canyon are not any guardrails. And it's as if they are offering an opportunity to permanently or accidentally, incidentally rinse certain people from society. Like if you're dumb enough to go right to the edge and fall off, you went right to the edge of a very high place in a very dangerous place. So whatever happens, kind of happens. Those guardrails and all of the warnings as to not drink bleach and to not, inject peroxide or to not gargle with bowl cleaner, those directions and suggestions from the companies are not really there to keep people safe. It's there to protect the company, to say, hey, we told them not to do it. If they did it, it's on them. But it also helps to remind people that certain things are dangerous, to keep them from being surprised when something bad happens. No one put out a warning for witnessing Oblivion Sight in action. No one put out a warning for staring into the void. There are many quotes about it. If you stare long enough into the void, it would stare back through you. And looking at Lucio, who makes the suggestion and apologizing in advance, still does not prepare one for seeing into forever. There's the fall immortality that every kindred has, and then there's the real death of which is forever, the weight therein. And there's the wispy hint of other things being inside him. The fact that that space of his eyes just continues on forever, even as it has a fullness to it and causes it to react with the world that you are existing in. You manage to not only keep your composure, but to stare deeply enough to discern that in that forever loss of everything, that vent of black of death and all that instills, his eyes are still there, floating in all of that nothingness, the same color as all of that nothingness. While Lucio, staring into the space between where you are sitting and rising to your feet in preparation of what's coming, to see what's coming in its fullness, several things occur to you. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. You have experienced what the shelter has looked like without it being under siege, without the very boundaries of the world having been torn asunder locally. You have witnessed what the shelter inhabits and shares with every being that resides within, unbeknownst to them, on the average day. But this is the day when all the natives are restless. This is the day when the forest itself is emptying as if Bagheera's tail or Shere Khan's tail had been tied with a brush fire and sent running into the forest, scaring even the mighty elephant. All of the creatures of the forest, all the jungle, are spilling out because there's something far worse on its way. And you know what it is. Lured by the very real potent throbbing energy of Blue, the things that hunted him at John Stroger at the Cook County Central Hospital, those things that feed and fed on the souls that passed, the former living entities. And not only just them coming, but the apex versions of them are coming. Things that feed on the souls of the damned and the dead, which most kindred fail to realize they, in fact, are. They are souls trapped in the blood, the vitae of their corpses. It's the reason why Blue took every opportunity to escape, and his now potent essence, his scent, hangs in the air, trailing little wisps of it out into the forever. And in the distance, peering across the veil, you see those eyeless, noseless, inverted, skinless things heading in your direction, crawling across walls that haven't existed in this place for centuries, crawling through forests that had been cut down to make way for the original Fort Dearborn and all of the settlements therein that formed Chicago. Crawling and swimming through time, they come, devouring souls at each step, and each devoured souls add to their bleeding effigy. Each soul devour strengthens them. You can see the muscles cording as if they've been lifting weights for months, years, decades. You can see as each soul, instead of satiating them, adds to their hunger. And with your sight bent as it is, looking from yourself, Sophia, to Miriam, to Hestia, you see what you all are. You are lambs slowly roasting over a spit in a forest unguarded by anything that could prevent what's going to happen. And on they come. And the souls rushing across the veil, the souls rushing away from where you all are, realize that you can see them. And first, the one simply touches you, silently mouthing escape. The next takes your hand in his, tries to pull you along, till you realize he's not trying to pull you along. He's trying to invade your space. But his grip doesn't hang on as the push of bodies, of souls, moves him on. However, as each one notices you, noticing them, several attempt to reach out towards you and claw their way into what you are. And in the office, while that's happening with Lucio,
Why do I even say you do not want to see? You look anyway. You always look anyway. Grab him. Let's go. We got to get out.
Agreed. And she like kind of reaches out and grabs him by the back of his pants, like a little kid would anyway, and like just drags and pulls, like go 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 go.
Mary will just trail along, looking a bit confused.
Lucia, would you be so kind as to roll your unspent willpower? Your DC is 3. If you fail, the many souls attempting to gather, purchase, and pull themselves up by their bootstrap by hitching a ride inside you will do so. If you fail, each die you fail by will allow one additional spirit to take up roost. How are you mentally fighting off the people who are attempting to crawl into your pants, to crawl up your shirt sleeves, who are attempting to crawl down your collar, who are attempting to jump into your eyes as one would the General Lee if they were a Duke's boy?
I'm envisioning myself basically like pushing them off, fighting them off, trying to like block Lucio, like Lucio trying to block his eyes from being like grabbed at Because I imagine that's where they're trying to reach, since that's the window to the other side.
Mm-hmm. And it is 58 after the hour. Let's come back at 59 after the hour. I lied. Let's come back at 9 after the hour and pick up from, as you all will be rolling your athletics and dexterity to escape the invisible onslaught. All right, see you guys back
I'm
at 9 after.
screwed.
See you soon.
Hi, folks. How we doing?
That's
Panicking.
lovely. A stroll through the park.
Waiting to die.
Aren't we all? Sometimes it hurts to breathe, but it hurts more when you try to stop.
Just remember, you're always 3 to 5 minutes away from dying, and breathing resets that time clock.
You make it sound so easy to just stop the clock. Permanent timeout. I'm red carding myself. I needed to go to the penalty box. Hess, you back yet?
You can't go tapping out.
Oh, I can tap. I just don't, because my existence is a spiteful rebuke of so many. And speaking of spiteful rebuke, Lucio, you out there? Ready to be
I am.
possessed? I mean, sorry, spoiler alert.
Oh, no spoilers.
All
I
right,
am present and accounted for.
excellent. So we were in the midst of a full court blitz away from the oncoming otherness, while Lucio understands that he is being pulled in reverse away from what everyone else only has a feeling of. He has sight of these monstrosities, these never born children of never were, who had grown into a facsimile of an adult spirit, who had ingested the life's blood of all those who had formerly lived, who are currently feeding bits and gobbets of those spectral bodies and digesting them all in one go. He is watching as the black ichor of their beings is consumed, as it dribbles out and splatters with each bite and crunch of these rotting non-teeth, because unlike everyone else, Lucio has the pleasure of watching how they feed, where their mouths actually are. And there's nothing like watching something's torso open and ingest another seemingly living or existing entity. And while spirits, so ghosts, wraiths, and all of those don't actually have or usually have actual physical forms, in the shadow, they are as real as anything else. And their death screams and their pained exaltations are very real to Lucio's senses. He is able to see the grimaces and the abject fear in their faces as they are consumed. fighting off those people who are clinging for every bit of hope, those formerly living entities who are clinging for every chance to not be the next or the next to the next. Is there anything Lucio's doing except for keeping them from putting their fingers into his eyes, from ripping a place into him for themselves?
With Lucio's limited knowledge of the other side, how bad of an idea is it to fight back?
No, that has been the answer for everything thus far. If violence is not the answer, then clearly the wrong questions have been asked. And the question right now is, what are you willing to do to save these soulless beings? These continued facets of human lives, these very real testaments to the strength and will of the human soul. Those who have not forsaken their duties, who find and believe that there is more for them to do, who continue existing this close to the skinlands to keep them from becoming prey.
Save them? Wasn't particularly Lucio's plan, but his idea is basically push those stalls off of him, and if those monsters come within arms of Ahriman distance, he's going to try and summon them and see if they work on the other side.
Okay. Being as he himself is not moving, and someone else is in fact moving him, that very much is a possibility of using the arms of Ahriman. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your rouse for it, and then give me your strength plus, with the distance, we're going to use firearms, and add your potence to the damage if you are successful.
Strength and firearms, you said?
Yes. So Miriam,
Yes.
we'll start with your vantage point. As Lucio's being dragged along, his legs locked into place, he's literally being wheeled back as if he's wearing a pair of wheelies. Hestia, despite her size, is surprisingly strong. That much is clear because Lucio towers. He is a tall drink of water and then some. But as he is peering back behind you all as you make your way out of the office, the shadows around you coalesce into, give or take, a two-dimensional reality. They solidify themselves and shoot from him towards nothing behind you. But it is clear that it is his doing because his hands are outstretched, his gaze is focused, and there's a furrow of his brow. Hesher, you've seen this before from Lucio, but he's usually not the sort to attack the dark with magic missile. But lo and behold, it very much seems to be what he is doing. Sophia, having your experiences with not only the Hakata but several other clans, you are aware that there are certain shadow meisters who can do so, who can use the shadows to kill. And while Lucio is doing a very good job of seeming very, very scary with the light shifting and him being ensconced in darkness, there doesn't seem to be much use to the idea of attacking darkness with darkness.
Sophia, realizing that if this is a thing that's going to require moving deftly, speedily, and nimbly, that is not at all something she is capable of doing. So she is going to probably activate her fortitude, bite into her wrist, and try to, I don't know, intimidate them or something.
Okay. That being the case, go ahead, make your rouse roll, and which ability are you attempting to tap into besides fortitude?
Well, necromancy in this edition is not very powerful. The only thing I can think of is that I have probably cataloged a whole shitload of fetters in this place, so maybe I can compel the spirits that are here to defend us or something.
Okay. That is a very viable option. Hestia watching this happen, watching Lucio attack the dark with his magic missile, watching Sophia begin to stand her ground, will Hestia continue in any attempt to escape by pulling Lucio along, or will she attempt something else?
Yells back over her shoulder as she's like dragging. I thought we were freaking running, and now we're fighting. Would you make up your fucking mind as to which thing we're actually gonna do here? Because I need to know.
You go. This is my thing.
And then she realizes that they just moved. Wait, is Arsenio like still near death, or is he doing better?
He is doing better. It normally takes an average of 6 weeks to heal from a gunshot wound. The biggest portion of that is the not only the shock to the system, but the inherent infections that come along with it, because you have the entirety of your body focused on healing what normally is a death sentence. Because the shock normally is what kills you after a gunshot wound, especially such a large caliber gunshot wound. And despite being a ghoul and being able to shrug off most things, infected from the inside out is always a bad place, and that's exactly what would happen after that gunshot.
Because we've been monitoring him for that sort of thing, but is he to the point where he wouldn't be food for them, or would I be worried that he would be food for them?
No, the living are always food for the damned, but it is a coin toss on whether he has skilled enough or understands enough to be able to defend himself.
But he could get moving on his own. Like if I were to call him, he could get out of the building on his own.
Yeah.
She lets go of Lucio and grabs her phone and still kind of running for the door. Hey, we're kind of under attack by spirits right now. You might want to get out of the building.
All right, so Heshia's calling Arsenio. Miriam, it is clear that they have decided to dig their heels in and face whatever this is, whatever feeling that they felt, whatever is happening out there in the darkness, happening out there in the distance. What is Miriam prepared to do?
Well, clearly this is out of Miriam's realm of expertise. What is in her realm of expertise is caring for people. So she will um, go help the people who are still in the building, who are, still breathing. We'll have a fire drill.
Okay. At this hour, there's Sebastian, the youth you saw at the front desk and manning things. He's kind of the point. You haven't had the opportunity to really explore the shelter as a whole, but you know that there are people. You know that you can find the fire alarms with a intelligence security or intelligence larceny check, DC 3. And while you make that roll to pull the fire alarm and begin rousing people to leave the building, Heshy, would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity? No, I'm sorry, resolve and technology to handle the call, knowing there is an upheaval of such a magnitude that it very much appears as Sophia is preparing to die for your sins and save you all. And Lucio is again attacking the darkness with the very width and breadth of his darkness.
You said resolve and what?
Technology.
Well, clearly I do not find a fire alarm.
Well, that's a little different. I'm sure that you've worked with storytellers who, if the DC isn't set, it's a prolonged action. I mean, it's pour as high as
Gotcha.
you can, and You'll have a, and they are. Let's see where these creatures exhaust themselves. Okay. There's nothing so bad in the world as being almost right, of being almost across the finish line first, of almost passing the test, of almost having your heart's desires being a fingertip away and one finger short. And that feeling immediately settles on as in the maelstrom of souls bombarding, in the maelstrom of souls fleeing, the necromantic electrical energies and their ability to affect the world around them has grown to such a level because of the magnitude of souls springing forth. As she begins dialing, her screen crackles and shines, and then for a split second you see the face of Clyde in your phone as you're trying to dial Arsenio, which is a speed dial for you. It's just hit the one and it's dialing. He's in your favors because he's part, as far as you're concerned, part of the coterie. And there's Clyde's face. And you can hear his voice through your screen. I will do anything for my family. I will make sure. And he launches into the speech that you've heard several times before, even the speech that he gave Damien, and you realize what was used as leverage to help break him, to do such harm to him that his soul refuses to leave this plane of existence, even as thin and pale as the kindred soul is, locked into the vitae as it is. And he's here because of the maelstrom, and he is pouring himself out to you. While that's happening on Hestia's phone, the consternation and frustration growing in waves. Lucio, there's no way that you've missed. You watch as your tendrils, as the very essence of darkness, wraps around one of those creatures and tears from it bits of itself. They are strong enough to resist the pull, the cold chill of death that is your arms. As you pull back, trying to keep them from being able to actually do anything to harm you, they are inexorably breaking free and moving closer. They are being drawn as if you all have been scent marked as the penultimate prey. Sophia, the souls here are so fearful. They are so afraid of what is coming that even summoned forth, even dog whistled forward as if they are bound by the sound of your voice, they appear and dissipate, looking back over their shoulders towards what's coming in the Shadowlands, what's threatening to breach the boundaries between the Shadowlands and the Skinlands. It is such a potent force that they are not at all willing to permanently and fervently die, because that is the outcome. And Miriam, searching for fire alarms should not be this difficult. It is an old hospital. It should be on the pillars. It should be every 200 to 300 feet in open spaces. Yet there seems to not be one. Sebastian stands. Can I help you? Is Miss Green? Are you okay?
Oh, we were just discussing having a fire drill. Um, can you help me with that?
Oh no, we don't do those. A
Hmm.
lot of the people who reside here have PTSD, and they have trauma responses to sudden loud noises. So all of the fire alarms have been, well, not hidden, but
Hmm.
camouflage so that no one accidentally pulls them, because that's a common prank, because it's a good
Ah,
way to get access to people's belongings.
fair enough, fair
Um,
enough. So how do you typically do fire drills?
we don't. Um, if there's a fire, we operate as if everyone needs to be escorted out personally because of, for many people, this is their home. This is the only home that some of them have ever had. And for some, they haven't had a home in so long that this is a too good to be true. So we do everything we can to make sure that they feel safe. And fires, especially in your home, they themselves can cause post-traumatic stress. They themselves can cause undue trauma. So if there was a fire, we, the staff, have a plan, but we don't expose the residents to any of that needlessly. It would be too cruel, according to Miss Green, to re-traumatize people.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hmm. So let's see. How would you evacuate the building otherwise? There's a bit of an issue going on, and I'm afraid it might spill out here.
Oh, I need to call Donnell. If Miss Green is busy handling something and Amalia in the kitchen is too busy, I probably need to call Donnell. He actually is only on a break. He should be back in the next 20 minutes, but we do our best not to disturb the residents because, well, it's hard to, once you break their trust or you cause them to relive a traumatic moment, to get them to ever really get back to that semblance of normalcy.
Hmm. I'm not sure that we have 20 minutes. But it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Oh
Thank you.
no, I'll call Donnell now. He'll rush back, and he sits down and picks up the phone and just dials from memory. It's not often that you see people not need to hit the contact list on their phone, but this kid is clearly accustomed to an older style of operating because he just dials the number right away without even looking. Yeah, hey, Miss Green and Amalia in the kitchen are busy. But there is something going on, and one of Miss Green's guests are saying that we should get people out. Uh, yeah, you're on your way back already. Yeah, I know. I told her. Okay, I'll go and see if I can help Amalia so she can handle things. But then there's no one at the front desk. I don't know. I was just told. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Okay. 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 I'll go. Okay. Bye. Um. It, He really didn't leave me many options, but you want to stay like here, and I'll go find Amalia, see if I can help with that, and maybe we can figure out something.
Absolutely.
And while that is happening, and Sebastian steps away, let's move in alphabetical order, in reverse. Sophia, um, knowing that the souls themselves are so afraid of what's coming, what is it that you're deciding to do? What is your intention?
I guess to stand my ground because I've got one die in Dex and Athletics, so the running away is not an option for her.
You could do so stylishly. That will cost you speed and distance, but it's something that can be done.
I think she's gonna. I mean, for better or worse, even though I, as a player, don't want to, I think she's gonna stand by her convictions and her blood, and she's gonna stand her ground. She's a Rossellini, goddammit.
This might be a strange question, but where's Silvio at in all this?
At the car, you guys are roughly home. So he steps out and checks the perimeter and worries about security matters that he can deal with easily. Because if you're secure, whatever happens on the other side of the veil, he knows his mistress. And that means nearly every definition of that word can handle nearly anything.
Now, if he was to grab me and drag me out, that might be different, because short of dominate, there's not much I could do to prevent him from doing it.
Lucia, Watching bits and gobbets of the oncoming onslaught be torn free and them still not respond with a pained scream, but instead come forward a hair faster. What is it that you're attempting to do?
How many of these things are there?
4.
New approach, he's going to focus all the arms on one specifically and just taking that one out. Bringing it, like trying to bring it down.
Okay. And Hessian.
Doing her best not to smash her phone on the ground because of Clyde being in it and her frustration. She shoves it back into her pocket. Um, is there a physical, like, office wall between them and what she knows they can see?
Do you have unseen up?
Yeah, I have
Currently?
Sense Unseen, but I don't have it up. She can tell by what direction Lucio is looking in, and what direction Sophia is looking in.
Oh, there's walls and steps between what you see because it honestly looks as if they're just looking behind you.
Okay. Um, it doesn't say in the book what exactly she would need for the ritual to ward against spirit. And it's not a circle, but it's like you can put a barrier between you and a spirit. Or like you can ward a piece of clothing. So she wants to do that to a wall just to put some space and stop between them. But like I said, it doesn't say in the book what she would need to do that. I'm assuming blood, though.
Can I make one addendum to my plan?
Mm-hmm.
Lucio's gonna try, in addition, like, before Lucio actually tries to focus on taking one of them down, he's gonna see if he can grab one of the spirits with the arms of Armin and throw it at the monsters as a distraction.
Oh, you're gonna feed your pets. Nice. Good job. All right. So,
Yeah, it's a level 2, so she wouldn't have time. Shoot.
Miriam, when Sebastian steps away, what are Miriam's intentions?
I will do what I can to assist the residents of the shelter. Really, I'm that's what I'm good at. I care for people, even if I'm, not tattooing them.
Okay.
Like some calm words. I have a performance specialty in public speaking, so I'm sure I can figure out something to say to help keep them calm and keep going.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. That being the case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma and performance with your a bonus of +1. You are in fact a stranger-ish for most of them, so you can't use your fullness to accomplish.
Uh,
And while that roll is happening,
does the looks bonus add into it as well?
yes,
guess because she doesn't look between the two of them, and I know we're not running, but could we at least back away real quick and get some more space between them and us?
And Ashley, would you be so kind as to roll ahead and roll your wits plus occult? Sophia, could you be so kind as to roll your wits plus oblivion?
Just making sure you said wits plus oblivion, right?
Yes.
You know what? I don't trust that number.
Really? That's
I'm
a
kidding.
shame.
I'm kidding. I'm leaving it at that.
All right. So, taking a quick look here. Quick gander. Quick, easy gander. There are things that are so obvious as to be easily overlooked. Scenting a trail is an old hunting trick. It's like pouring out several pounds of food to attract deer to make hunting easier. Except for when scenting a trail, you leave a trail of typically a scent animal, i.e., a bloodied rabbit or whatever else you want to use to attract larger predators to the area to lure them in. And while it's typically a illegal tactic, or at least a very unethical one, it's often done in places where you can get away with it. That, however, means that there was already enough of those predators in the area, already enough deer in the area to be attracted. Having just recently, the week before, dealt with redwood several times, it is clear to the coterie that they were already attracted to the blood in the area. They were already coming towards the area because there was clearly someone or something that could inflict death in such a measure, or had inflicted death in such a measure, that they were already on the trail. If there was something that could be done to prevent that entity from entering into the space, they'd get bored with their feasting and leave.
Wait a minute. You just said if something could be done to keep them from entering into space. That's what I just said. Can I do a ward?
Not
And you're like, I
them,
don't have
then
time for
what
that.
had already attracted them. Just like at Redwood, when there was easily plotted and planned, and people who had inflicted so many deaths upon the kindred that the spirits and souls were attracted to their scenting of such. By you all not providing potential victims to those hunters and killers in their trapped and waiting death house, the spirits vacated. The spirits stopped. But as long as that potential future, that potential reality was in the offing, they gathered with such an abundance that it was scary. So these souls, these spirits, have been attracted and pulled here because in the next offing, there is a person who has or will be causing such a large amount of death as to give them plenty to feed upon.
Uh-oh. I don't like where that's going.
I mean, who is this obvious to? I mean, because we know the scourge is coming, so I'm just wondering if Sophia has made that conclusion.
Yes. Each of you had a 4+ on your successes. It's an obvious something or someone who is capable of a mass amount of death, who has caused a mass amount of death, is on the way. If you can prevent them from entering and keep them from providing sustenance to succor these things by establishing a distance yourselves, they will eventually dissipate.
So Sophia will stop her dead language chanting and yell out, "Call the scourge! Tell her to meet somewhere else!"
Okay, sounds like a plan to me. So that means we're leaving again, right? I like this plan. And she starts heading out the door.
So, Miriam, as you are giving your speech and you're rousing people's interest, and they're looking towards you and you're whispering words of consolation, you see Hestia move past you and out the door out into the street. Lucio, having heard that and come to your own realizations and understanding of what may be in the offing, what is it that you do?
He's going to follow through with his plan of throwing some spirits at them as a distraction and booking it, following Hestia out the door.
And Sophia, watching as the others make a strategic attack towards the rear, what is it that you are doing?
Standing their ground.
Oh wait, does Lucio realize she's standing her ground?
Mm-hmm.
See, he's not okay. In that case, he's not one to leave someone behind. So in that case, he's going to go back to his original plan and stay
Can
with
we just
Sophia.
grab her, please?
Just go. I got this. This is what I do. I've studied this my whole life. Go.
I'm not leaving you behind to face these abominations.
Just go. It will be fine. What they want to feast on is not coming.
Hestia gets out the front door and sees Sylvia and goes, "Hey, we're trying to get out of here, but your lady's in there and she won't leave. Go get her, please."
Um,
Yeah, so now Lucio is torn between following Hestia and staying with Sophia, and he's basically looking back and forth. And then he decides to pull Sophia along with the arms of Ahriman and make the escape with her.
you can't move while using arms of Ahriman. Every time you've been using them, you've been caught up in battle, so you never realized that you were standing perfectly still when doing so. You
Then I'm picking her up and running. or pulling her to me and then running. And then, like, deactivating it afterwards.
All right. Well, now. Miriam, watching all of this happen, watching Hesher move past you, is there anything else you would be attempting to do?
So as she moves past, I will begin a round of applause. It's like, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, our gracious host, please follow her example and exit the building.
Okay. So, in moments such as this, as is the unfortunate usual, would you be so kind as to everyone give me a Miriam? It would be a manipulation plus performance plus looks plus the 2 from Heschel being seen leaving the building. Lucio, it is a strength plus athletics plus your potence. If you are resisting Sophia, it would be a strength plus athletics to escape. It's a contested roll.
Is the potence a flat bonus?
Yes.
I know that I can probably not resist his arms, but I can lock eyes with him and make him go away.
Okay.
Has Silvio listened to me or moved at all?
Nope, you're gonna have to find him. And he's at least one round from the building. Because remember, he's doing a circuit of the building for security. That includes the parking lot and the huge facet of the actual hospital.
Well, did my other text at least go through since I'm outside now?
All right, let's see where we are with all of our lovely, lovely rolls. Indubitably. All right, let's see what do we got. Sophia, you didn't roll your attempt at dominate. It is a contested action with him to see whoever has the highest successes at this point. Ooh.
Just can't catch a break on them rouse checks tonight.
All right. So, well, now. So there is a bottleneck of people leaving, following Hesha's steps out the door, urged by Miriam. And while that battle of bodies pressed together, following the inclinations of their foundational leader, and in sheer factual numbers, it is a complete and total success. There are people leaving by the droves. Sebastian returns from he attempts to return from the kitchen with Amalia, who wasn't busy at all, was actually in the kitchen preparing the next course of their meal. Wondering what exactly in all get out is happening, because Sebastian, in his usual way, explains concisely but not exactly directly. Like there's a reason for everyone to leave, and Miss Green wants us to leave, but then the motorcycle girl, who's not really a motorcycle girl, is saying that it's what Miss Green wants, and Donnell isn't here, and so it's a garbled mess, not quite relaying why Amalia should have everyone leave in a nice, cool Chicago evening. And their consternation and their confusion as to what's happening is confounded when they see so many people actually doing just that, responding as if they've been given the word of God through Moses and crossing the barren land beneath the Red Sea. So you hear Amalia yelling for people, "What are you doing? What's going on? Someone give me an answer!" And her voice is raspy and harsh from all of the many years of smoking, as Abatian is looking around, quite confused as to exactly how this become to be. And while that very mortal, very real confusion is happening in the foyer and the front portions of the shelter, and the back portion of the shelter, Lucio and Sophia are locked eye to eye. And you know the saying, keep your eye on the prize, keep your eye on the ball. And doing so, and their eye being on each other, while the command issued is one of iron. Sophia, in a matter of seconds, was able to reach inside Lucio's head and push. But Lucio, locked as he was with the arms of Aramin extended, cannot leave, cannot move, because the arms of Aramin are whipping and flurling and moving of their own volition, wrapping around Sophia. So locked as they are in this moment, Lucio attempting to leave but can't move because the very real facet of his ability are in existence. The order firm, strong enough to hold him in place. Would you both be so kind as to roll your unspent willpower with the DC 4?
Is this something Unswayable Mind is going to apply to?
Is it an attack? Give me one quick second. Let me double check one aspect and make sure that it is. Does it count as an attack or does there's no damage?
I think it's any attempt to intimidate, coerce, whatever.
Ignore the sounds of the man using very arcane technology and opening a book. It is not what you think it is. It is not. Sure, we'll give it we'll give it a pass and let's say that it works because while possession is not an attack, it does cause the mind to, or the body to act free of the mind. So we'll say yes. All right. So here's the fun part. For some, you have felt the careful manipulation and grooming of others. You have understood that it's part and parcel of the mentor-mentee relationship within the family. And though that several boundaries are crossed when such states come into being. So you understand the touch of another's will on your mind. You understand the very real. And as you push off that influence, as you fight off that weight, you watch as the light snuffs out of Lucio's dark eyes. It is clear that Lucio is not the man you thought that he was because he is not the same soul. He is not alone in there. And the soul that inhabits him is not one for kindness. His lips curl at the edge. And the strength that Lucio holds back with each and every instance of using his abilities and using himself falls away. Instead of it being the cold, cool caress of the arms, they immediately become crushing. They immediately begin to squeeze you as if you are an empty soda can. And while that is happening, outside, Alexa's car eases to the curb as Hestia is yelling down the block for Silvio, who's rounding the corner. As all about her, several faces of those that she has called family and friend and associate time and time again, those as her efforts have affected in the shelter's residents, filter out all about her. And with this situation being locked as it is in a seeming death spiral of one spiritual unawakening after the next, the bells of hell begin pealing to the tune of ding 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 ding. And as that echoes through the spiritual realm into this one, with Miriam caught between the press of bodies exiting and Amalia's stern old visage, with Sebastian caught in a loop of confusion and chaos becoming the name of the game. I want to thank you all for a lovely session. I look forward to seeing you all next session. Good night, everybody.
The cliffhanger.
Night all.
Night, guys.
Good night, everyone. There might not be a Lucio next year. Oh no.
Oh no.
See, I said go.
And I said I'm not leaving you behind.